Alright, so this is Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer. This has been recently developed within the last year, so it's never really been seen too much around Twitch. And unlike most randomizers, this one is quite unique in the fact that it's simple. We've seen Legend of Zelda's randomizer, I believe there's a Final Fantasy 1 randomizer, there's a Pokemon randomizer. This one is probably the most straightforward, and it's just the type of randomizer where things are least prone to go wrong here. It's basically SMB3, kind of in a hybrid with Mario Maker. And I say that because we have sprites that are available to us in Super Mario Bros. 3 that are not available in Mario Maker, so this kind of puts an interesting spin on things for sure. So, first major thing here I want to mention is, this is the World 8 hand level, so it leaves the audience to think, well, wait, if the World 8 hand level's here, what's going to happen once we get to the hand bridge in World 8? It'll keep people wanting to watch, because they'll wonder what's going to happen there. You always want something that's going to hold up audience appeal during something like this, especially if it's not a straightforward speedrun and with a randomizer, so leaving the audience with questions in this case is a really cool thing. So you'll notice right away also, we are in World 1 and we are getting World 3 levels, World 4 because this is the fortress, second fortress from World 3, and then we had 4-6 earlier as the first one from Giant World. And then we had the World 8 third hand trap, so it is kind of a break. It doesn't seem as mundane as Super Mario Bros. 3, and I kind of like that about this randomizer. We try to keep some consistency in there to relieve the amount of things that can go wrong. So power-ups, for example, are in the same place. We don't want to be in the spot like, for example, 6-5 with the secret exit and not have Leaf available to us. So we didn't change around the power-ups too much. The creator of this, Fred Coughlin, is trying to reduce the amount of uncontrolled, I guess, random stuff that can happen in the sense that we don't want anything to soft lock the game. Fred has done his best to make sure, and as you're noticing right now, there's creatures, there's enemy swap here. Those black fish are only available typically in 7-4 of the vanilla Super Mario Bros. 3. So, we do have some enemy swap. It does create sometimes some weird palettes, but we've gotten to the point where we know which ones break stages and which ones do not. I think the worst case scenario is we have a sprite that looks a little weird. Fine. Its hitboxes are the same. We know what to expect. It's no big deal. But by the time AGDQ 17 comes around, Fred will even install more patches in here that'll enable that to happen less and less. So for example, right here, the stage used to have a bug where the Angry Sun's actually hiding at the beginning of the stage, but sometimes that enemy would turn into a Koopa, and you would automatically take a hit. Well, it's because of that and a ton of testing that me and other players have done. We make sure stuff like that doesn't happen, and Fred rewrites it back in the ROM to make sure that doesn't happen as soon as possible. So this is always a work in progress, but we got it to the point where we could submit without any major difficulties happening. What's going to happen is Fred will create the seed, and he will have other playtesters that are not me, and possibly Grand Pooh Bear, if he does co-op, offering this with him, of course, to test it and make sure that every single nitpicky thing is ironed out before it would ever see the light of day at a GDQ. In some ways, it's very much safer than most games because we can control and make sure that there's no possibility for soft locking on this game, unlike vanilla versions of video games where sometimes you can't control that. So I kind of like that about this version. We have that peace of mind that Fred's taken a look and combs through the code, and we know that nothing bad can happen as a result of it. You're not going to get the that's never happened before type deal, even though it's a randomizer, just because we have that control over the code. So, interesting part, there has been a patch installed since I recorded this initial video. The airship auto-scrollers have been removed from the current patch. This means that we are guaranteed to have a shorter estimate. I believe I'm putting an estimate of an hour. We should be done within 52 or 53 minutes. And that's even with a couple deaths and room for error. So we can choose to leave the auto scrollers on though if you guys would like more room to have donations, right? So keep that in mind. We're very flexible. We can turn certain flags off and certain flags on. You guys just let us know what you want should this make it into a GDQ. Also, these Koopa Kids only take 1 hit. They can go between 1 and 5 hits. This was a lucky ROM in the sense that they only took 1. Very nice. So again, there's a lot of room for kind of comedy, a lot of room for discussion to happen, and even if we get a stage where it, like for the desert stage, for example, where the Angry Sun is, that's a stage where we could read donations during as well if we decide to take out the auto-scrollers. And Fred's gonna change some of the text too. We can take out the airplane quotes if that means we don't have to worry about copyright infringement. That's just Fred's more or less personal touch, but he can change that at any point. The other nice thing about being able to do co-op with Grand Pooh Bear is we have a chance to, whenever the other player's not playing, we have the chance to just kind of talk to the audience during this. And we might even have a shot at the actual creator of this, Fred Coughlin, coming to the event, if for some reason this were to get in. There's all sorts of fun things we can plan. We had discussed maybe a donation incentive to do the Mario Brothers fight game, the one where Mario and Luigi land on top of each other and it turns into vanilla Mario Brothers arcade. Oh, this is the other thing that's cool about Randomizer. Notice that those sprites were still swapped. I was still able to do the speedrun route of World 1-1. So just because some of these sprites are swapped doesn't mean necessarily that we're barred from doing any of the speedrun tricks with the normal sprites. You get to see how we react to these sprites right on the spot and see if we can still pull off some speedrunning routes. So that's kind of exciting. And again, we have the World 4-1 fort. Have some extra booze and hot foots, etc. So we didn't really add sprites. What you can do is you can substitute sprites. So we're never going to get that lag overload. I think the only stage that has the potential to just give us this nasty lag pattern would be 6-6 because of all the fish that are in the water there. If we get that level, we can go through it as long as we have a fire flower and taking out some of the lag there, or we could just cloud over it. No biggie. Now, the Hammer Brothers are also wielding random items. There is a chance we could have early Hammer, even from World 1 or from the World 1 airship, because those are all random items. This means we could skip the majority of World 2 if we get lucky with the Hammer. So there's even that potential to save time. So much time to be saved everywhere here. So you notice there that there's a coin ship. I believe Fred's gonna work hard to make sure that the auto-scroller is taken off the coin ship. A lot of people were talking about how they wanted coin ships at the last GDQ. I was there when all that peer pressure happened as a commentator of SMB3 at well, I was the host, but still, nonetheless, I remember egging them on because I was the host during that segment. We have coin ships and the potential for coin ships, so that can always be something fun that the crowd might want. But we're going to try hard to make sure that those auto-scrollers are taken off. Just again, that's more time we can save, less time just doing nothing. So another fun feature. Back when Super Mario Brothers 3 Advance, was it? Or one of the Advance games that featured this game had an e-reader on it. We've never seen a lot of these levels. You had to have had the Game Boy Advance and the e-reader back then. Well, this particular version of Randomizer contains the lost levels that were in those e-reader cards. So we do have a chance to see those levels as well, and we will keep the auto-scroller on one of those e-reader levels because it really ties the level together and gives people like a notion of why the heck wasn't this particular level published. Well, it was really hard. So we gotta leave the auto-scroll on to reflect the difficulty of that level, but I've defeated that level many times. I'm not too worried about performing it in a marathon. So again, we have a couple of weird looking sprites. That does happen, but it doesn't really affect much. We even had the nanny blooper there. I know Fred fixed the code in some of the sprites there, so looking good so far. We will, however, do this. We will grab a star train. Just because in Randomizer anything can happen, and sometimes we'll have to solve some of these levels by a trial and error, just like Mario Maker, so it's really good to have these backup lives, but most of the time we don't need them. Always good to have a mushroom there in case we end up with 7-1 or 7-6. We might be able to clip in a pinch, so really important to have something like that. So again, that's all just filler stuff right there. We can always put something fun in there for the marathon. That's of course appropriate. It's so weird watching these with auto-scrollers because, again, the new patch just makes these levels look that different. And one really cool feature about that is that I will be practicing some P-speed strats for those airships. Really important to do that because we can make these airships look super beautiful and we don't have to worry about the auto-scroller getting in the way. So again, as a reminder, we can always leave these on for instances of donation rating, but you're going to be able to frankly find it in the other levels, like the desert level we just had without the Anger Sun. That would have been perfect. No problem there. Oh, also, the other nice feature is when we skip the auto-scroller in the airship, we don't get that first cutscene where the king, where Toad's talking about the king being transformed. So that's yet another instance of just slow parts of the game being edited out. We're only getting the good parts of Super Mario Bros. 3 by doing that. And that's one thing that I really love about this randomizer submission to a GDQ. We can create breaks in action just by having easier stages, but there's really no break in the action. And I feel like that's really good for maintaining an audience. Speaking of hardware, someone in my chat had mentioned this. Oh, hang on. One feature I really want to explore here. The pipes in this randomizer are also swapped. So when we go into a pipe at the beginning of World 3, we could end up all the way at the end of World 3, skipping World 3 and going into the airship. Just again, really showing people the meaning of what SMB3 Warpless and Randomizer is capable of. It's pretty awesome. So getting back to the hardware, this will be done on flashcart at the marathon, and again, the seed will be made well in advance. And hopefully we can figure out how to write in the code, even if we do get a coin chip, to show people, hey, you can't troll us, there's no auto-scroller on this, what are you thinking? Be pretty funny. Still get the 2 Boomerang Brothers at the end, just for flavor. So for this one, for World 3, we got the second luckiest one, because we are able to skip the first 3 levels, and that's really awesome. We do have potential to skip the rest of World 3, depending on what is on the other side of the lock after this fortress, and here we have the second fortress of World 5. So again, you have to be prepared for anything. That's one of the most important features of Randomizer, and it'll show people at home how speedrunners have to adjust. I mean, we see that in Mario Maker, and they'll see that with Super Mario Bros. 3. What happens when the speedrunners are put up against obstacles they don't foresee? So, again, naturally I went in this other pipe, see if I could skip the rest of World 3. And the kick is good. That's it. World 3 was one stage. That is awesome when that happens, and I think that would be a point of excitement in the marathon. So this run was 56 something, an average run if we take out the auto-scrollers and the airships. I've been landing around anywhere from 52 to 55, again, just putting up the hour estimate in case something like really weird happens, or if there's a puzzle going on and we get stuck in something. That kind of thing's gonna happen, or if we just get unlucky with the pipes. So we're allowing that room of error, but it should not be taking any longer than an hour. Pooh and I are seasoned runners. We should have no issue meeting that estimate. So again, I'll be mentioning this throughout this submission. The nice thing about SMB3 Rando is it is low risk. There's really not much of anything really bad that can happen. And it's simple. which is good. We don't want to keep things too random. We still want to have some order. The one-hit Wendy. I love that. So already, we're about 15 minutes in, already done with about a third of the game. It's really good. So I believe at this point in the submission, I'm kind of on the hunt for the hammer at this point, because we want to be able to skip part of World 6 if the situation presents itself. Still none of that yet, though. Alright, so this is one of those instances where Randomizer can come back to bite us. I have to ditch my Fire Flower here, because we cannot perform a Superman jump here. There are very few sprites that allow us to Superman jump, so we have to fly in order to get around this ride of shame. Really important to make sure we get around these obstacles. There we go. For whatever reason that day, I couldn't get my P-Speed to work properly. But as you saw, we got a Koopa without wings. That would have equaled to death if we would have went for Superman jump there. So being able to anticipate those kind of things is really important when running Randomizer. Alright, so the first instance of the Angry Sun. We didn't see him in the desert stage, but oh man, it's 1-2 and here comes the Angry Sun. The Angry Sun and Boss Bass can appear in the majority of the stages, and these are sprites that kind of show their presence throughout the whole level, and they kind of complicate the route, so that's a really cool added volume to Randomizer that we don't get otherwise. Alright, do I have a club at this point? No, I think I just do this level since I have the tail. This is a level where if we get a Jugum Cloud early, we'll probably want to skip it just because it is a longer level, and trust me, you do not want to see Boss Bass in this level. While it creates funny content, it is a very stressful situation at Boss Bass in this level. This would be another level where if we took auto-scrollers off of airships, which we can at this point, we would probably read donations during this level because there's not too much of anything going on here. And remember, too, with the lost levels thrown in here, this level might not even be in the mix for Randomizer, so I'm not too worried. In case somebody's watching this and wondering, this is level 7 and 5 in Vanilla Super Mario Bros. 3. I always thought this was kind of funny that you could take Spinies up pipes like that and kick it like a Koopa shell. So that's it. That would have been enough time to read some cozy donations. I do really feel like this would be a great placeholder for, if somebody submitted Hundo again, or if somebody submitted any percent or wrong warp. I feel like, aside from the time difference between the any percent or wrong warp and this just eliminates all the auto-scrollers. It's the best of Super Mario Bros. 3 without any of that. Any percent or wrong warp contains mostly auto-scrollers, whereas this, we get to see the best of SMB3. Now, someone may be wondering, watching this, why would we not want to use the warp whistles here and just make it a very short category? Well, the reasoning behind that is when we use the warp whistle, there is no guarantee to what level we'll go to. Those pipes are also randomized in the warp zone to kind of discourage players from warping in SMB3 Randomizer. So here's our first instance of an auto-scroller that is not an auto-scroller. This is 6-7. Normally a very long auto-scroller, but you can see with the tail, we can break portions of this level pretty badly. The player can move at their own pace, and we might even be able to develop some P-speed strats for this that look pretty awesome. Nonetheless, though, having the tail there is nice because we get to skip big chunks of the level. Yeah, way faster as a non-auto scroller by a mile. There's the hammer we were looking for, so as long as we find one, and if we find one before World 2, great, it doesn't need that much time if we don't. But finding the hammer before then is pretty cool, because then we can skip a pretty big chunk of time in World 6. We'll probably take on most of the Hammer Brothers in World 4 just because they're short and we get an opportunity for some Jugum's Clouds and some P-Wings. Jugum's Clouds are amazing during this because let's say we're one stage before the airship. Well, one of us can use the Jugum Cloud and get right onto the airship and pass both players through the world that way. This is another level that Boss Bass likes to frequent, especially trying to eat me as I go into that pipe. Kind of provides for some good comedy. We're not going to go out of our way to get some Hammer Brothers, though. Since we have those hammers, we really don't need to build up the inventory box that much. Maybe having one P-Wing in case a level goes bad, or, you know, getting a Jugum Cloud here and there is good, but we really just kind of roll with what's in the levels in Randomizer. Very nice fort there. I always like that, beating the Fire Brother to his own fireball. We also have a blooper that can happen there. If we get a normal Hammer Brother there, as in the one that throws hammers, he can jump to his death and it's actually pretty funny to watch. Only for World 4 can that happen though. So this is the 6th airship. This is another airship where if you take the auto-scroller out, oh my gosh, this is like no time whatsoever. I would have normally created another recording, but I wanted to show how we can keep the auto-scrollers on and it's still not that long of a run. One we can easily get under an hour, so again, up to the discretion of if you guys want to have this, we can customize these flags however the committee wants us to. Oh, we're very flexible in that sense. If you want the fastest flags possible, we'll do that. If you want flags with a little bit of leeway, we can keep the same estimate and do that as well. Completely up to you guys. I love Randomizer so much in SMB3 because it provides a fresh perspective to Super Mario Bros. 3 that we would never get to see normally. And then, of course, this Randomizer is fairly new, so that's always a fun thing. I typically offer this Randomizer as viewing content on Retro Gaming Live TV. I'm part of their team, and it's probably one of the most frequently visited segments by far on there, especially during mine. People come out for this all the time. They love the comedy that can happen here. They like how I have to adapt to all these different obstacles and still try to use speedrun strategies from normal Super Mario Bros. 3. That balance is kind of awesome. Alright, so World 5 is kind of interesting. We need to keep the tower the same stage. Now, this is the only auto-scroller, by the way. Even if we take out every single other auto-scroller, this one has to stay, because if this is not an auto-scroller, the level breaks. And that's never a fun thing. So 5-9 has to remain an auto-scroller, which is fine. This level's pretty chill. I don't consider it too difficult. I'm shooting my fireballs down there just in case Boss Bass decides to make an appearance. Yes, Boss Bass can actually chase me throughout this auto-scroller, and it's very frightening when that happens. Not something I'd like to see in particular, especially during a marathon. I'm sure everyone else would, though. Again, about maybe a little over a minute for that level. Really good time. Read donations there. We might not run into it at all, though. Ooh, got the nice P speed there. Forgot about that. It's actually really hard to get P speed here in 4-1. I believe in this randomizer, I might take 1 or 2 purposeful deaths to try to get a quicker stage, because there are times where the path branches out and you can pick the quicker stage. But I know for a fact I only have 1 oops death in this whole run, and it's actually pretty funny. And I believe it's at the beginning of a level as well. The other reason why I feel like Randomizer would be really good, at least for me to run at this, is I know where almost every single power-up is in the game, so if something goes south quickly, I know exactly where I need to go to get additional power-ups. Now, depending where we are on time, if I get enough music boxes, I can actually skip the majority of these Hammer Brother fights, so that's more time we can save. So this is the one level where we like to keep everything almost the same, and that's just because this tower connects the lower part of World 5 to the upper part of World 5, so for something as important as that, as far as where the coding on the map is, we tend to keep these stages the same. It's really important. Just one of the few times we have downtime for this. Thank you, by the way, to my lovely, lovely Skyforce member who subbed. I don't want to leave you out. Alright, so this is another lost level. This one's pretty interesting because you have those beetles there, and you never quite know if you're gonna get a pattern of those or a pattern of like fire snakes and flame chomps, kind of what we had. We had a little bit of a mix there. And the other cool thing about the lost levels is, right now we're still developing some speedrunning strats through those, so we'll get to show off those at the GDQ. Alright, so not too much changes in that level, really. There are some levels, no matter how much we try to flip the sprites around, it's gonna be the same levels, which are fine, as long as we do good strats for them. Oh yeah, I forgot about how much 2-5 can be a little complicated, especially with those Goombas. Wow, there are a lot of flying Goombas in this stage I didn't realize the first time around. That Hammer Brother always seems to like to hide out in that corner for whatever reason. So, this is a level where normally we would not get to see any parts of the level, but because we don't know whether or not, or what type of fort this is, we do get to see how to solve the puzzle of this fortress, which I always thought was interesting. Always fly where the plus sign is. Really important for that room. No, we haven't figured out a way to randomize Boom Boom fights yet. I think the only thing we could do for Boom Boom fights is maybe he has a chance to jump, maybe he has a chance to fly. That's about it. Boom Boom fights can't really be made any more interesting than what they are. So now we have an interesting world 2-1 here. Unfortunately, with the tail, there's not too much that can be done here. P-speed is really hard to get with the tail. It's not fun and it doesn't really last that long, so I try to improvise, but back in the day when we did have auto-scrollers, it was really important to kind of keep the tails for those levels. But for this particular seed, they're not too bad because the Koopa Kids only take one hit. So now we have Boss Bass missing in action in his territory, and we can't help but wonder, where has Boss Bass wandered off to? We will know that answer probably, I want to say, in a couple worlds, so hold on to your hats for that one. Nice little P-speed strats here through Vanilla 3-3. It's less scary when Boss Bass isn't lurking in the water. So coming up next, oh geez, this kind of fight. This kind of fight is hard to survive, but possible. After a while, you kind of get used to seeing the Sledge Brothers in awkward environments like that. On the airships, before the auto-scrollers were taken out, I used to like to take P-Wings into them so I could be lazy and interact with people. That's always kind of fun. And I believe this is the 4th airship. Really not too much to say here. All I can say is if the committee decides to choose Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer, I would heavily suggest, for the sake of this airship, to make sure that you vote for no auto-scrollers in airships, again, which we can remove. Because this airship is actually super short. It's just the auto-scroller. It makes it so painfully long. This would be a good time, though, to get out your newspapers, figure out how to save $400 on a washer or dryer, etc. Take a selfie. Any of the above. And again, as a reminder, for anyone who might be watching, this was previously recorded on an episode of Retro Gaming Live TV, so this was played in front of a big audience, and this is such a chill game to play in front of a big crowd. It'd be a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a lot of good quality speedruns, and without all the nervousness getting in the way. I like it. So, some donation incentives that we were thinking about was having the fight game happen. Maybe we'd do, like, the best of, like, 5 rounds or something funny like that between, me and Pooh. Pooh and I might use that fight scene in co-op to our advantage. If somebody has an item in their inventory that might be useful in the level, we will swap places via the fight game. So that's already 2/3 of the game completed, 33 minutes, not bad for Warpless. And again, we're probably going to switch those around. We'll probably do something funny related to GDQ. That is, of course, appropriate and pre-approved by you guys. So we're going to take the pipe here and roll the dice and see what happens here in the magical world of World 6. We get our normal pipe here, which will happen. And that's fine, especially when we have the hammer. And here we get a Jugum Cloud, which is pretty awesome. So this is the first fortress of World 3. If Pooh knows how to do the door trick here, I'm sure he'll do it, but we're probably not going to take any chances. The more time we can save, the better. So that pipe right there, the one on the, not the one guarded by the bridge, but the other one, that's like the best pipe you can get here. Now, there used to be a point where Boss Bass would eat the player out of the pipe coming out of in here, but Fred made sure that that couldn't happen anymore, so no danger about that. I'm going through these levels now and thinking of every single fix Fred's had to make to these. It's actually not as bad as I remember. Just little nitpicky things here or there. Well, the thing I like about this randomizer the most is it not only is it interesting, but it is also simple again. Oh, here comes the clip. Now this might have been one of the purposeful deaths I had to take, but let me see if I clip. It's very hard to clip with tail, but I have a mushroom in my inventory. Worst case, I enter the door, purposely die, and then use my inventory item to clip. But I might have gotten this one here. Nope. So I have to take a purposeful death here, which I do. So this is one of the examples of a strategy we can use. If we mess up, it's so easy to die and then just reuse an inventory item. You don't get that luxury in most other games. If you mess up a trick, you have to eat it. But here, we have a chance at redemption, which is always fun. There we go. See, it would be so easy for most people to lose their cool there, but this trick, I've been doing it for so long now. Now, the cool part is here, Fred was nice enough to leave these power-ups the same so I can grab the hammer suit for Bowser. Sometimes we'll get a hammer suit from the princess after every airship, but, you know, this is our emergency Hammer Brother suit in case anything happens. That makes the Bowser fight super quick. Kinda nice to have that luxury there. This is the first fortress of World 5. This is actually a really cool one to speedrun. I like this one a lot. Using an inventory item there because now that 7-1's over, the only other clip we can run into now is 7-6. And 7-6, you can easily die and use a P-Wing in there to get over it, so I'm not too worried about clips at this point. Fire Flower is really the important item to maintain in SMB3. Alright, so this is 7-4. This is a level that, like, everyone has dreaded. But what would happen if we were to take the auto-scroller out of 7-4? What happens? Well, Fred fixed it in such a way where you couldn't just escape the jellyfish or Gelectra field by swimming below it. So Fred moved the Gelectra field down, and he lowered the ceiling. So that way you still have to swim through the field. But without this auto-scroller, the stage is a joke, and I love showing it off. So this fortress is where it should be, and every now and then we're going to get levels where it's like, hey, wait, how did that end up there? And just sometimes we're going to have to deal with it and make jokes out of it. It's always fun to do that. So this is the World 7 airship. This one has a few really difficult jumps without the auto-scroller, because without the ability to keep pushing the screw forward in some of these jumps, oh my gosh, some of these look like skill shots. I still might do the lazy thing and P-wing it just for funsies, but... So these were the jumps I was talking about right here. Some of these jumps are really tricky when you're going at your own pace and you think you can make them, but you really have to have a good eye for what's going on here without the auto-scroller kind of guiding you along. Having a tail on this stage with no auto-scroller is absolutely amazing though. I love it. Alright, so now we get a real pipe maze, and what do I mean by that? Remember when we went into World 3, and we only had to have one stage? Well, the pipe maze is very similar. The pipe maze is a true pipe maze. We don't know where we're going to come out of here or anything of that nature. One thing I can guarantee is if this gets in, the playtesters will make sure that the pipe isn't so well hidden that it wastes a lot of time. So you have to go into the spade game every now and then if something like that happens, but the cool thing is you could end up getting a Jugum Cloud out of it. So, it's so funny because this is the level that's known for having the boot, but doesn't guarantee that there's going to be a boot in this level. As a matter of fact, you could get boot in different levels. So right there, we exploited an interesting glitch where we can use the screen to scroll. And get past the piranha that way. That's always fun. Well... Alright, so that was world 610. Again, normally one you'd only get to see in Hundo. So again, just kind of getting lost in the pipes right now, and this is one of those things that can happen in World 7. So right here, this is like decision time. Sometimes I will choose to die in here if I do not have a tail and I have a tail in my inventory. Dun. Yeah, my apologies. Right now we are having some recording issues, but hopefully Twitch hangs in there right now as Mario's frantically trying to find his way through the maze. So again, another World 7 stage, World 7. Sometimes I think wanted to say Fred or somebody else had a theory that all the stages like to stay grouped together. So for example, the World 7 stages sometimes are clumped together, but I think that's just a speculation. The rest of this recording was so strong I wasn't gonna be like, oh wait, my pipe luck was bad. I mean, that's something that'll happen every now and then. Now here's the funny, and right into Bass's mouth. And that just kind of shows you how humor can happen at any point, and it can be non-costly. We can have a laugh, but not at the expense of how long the run takes, so it's kind of fun when that happens. But now that we have a Boss Bass present, we better get the heck out of here. That, I think, was my favorite point of the run, and that was the only time where I died on accident. To me, it was worth it. We'll see what you guys think, though. So Bass is down there. You always want to be prepared. I grabbed fire to go against Bass. There you go. I believe this is the right one. Yep. And that's the one pipe that we looked for the whole time. So this is neat. This is another lost level. This is the prototype of 1.5. It's actually really difficult compared to the original 1.5. This might have been... I'm trying to think if I died here or not during my recording. Maybe? Nah. Okay. This is actually a much tougher 1.5 than the 1.5 that they picked. I use the frog suits as a makeshift mushroom. Now right there is an example of how a sprite can glitch out, but look, it doesn't really change much. It's just a visible thing that happens every now and then, but it doesn't affect the quality of the run by any means. So this is the Angry Sun, which is normally an auto-scroller. Very thankful that this is not an auto-scroller. That sun tried, though. So here's the other nice part. So let's say Pooh and I were doing co-op and I had all those items in my inventory. I could easily just go down around, and if I beat this, we both pass through the world. So that's really awesome. So, nice airship. Pooh Kid that took one hit. Good airship in my opinion. And especially without the auto-scroller, that would have been so simple. So World 8, now, remember when I told you we didn't have we couldn't take out the auto-scrollers yet on airships? Look at this beauty. World 8 has never been so sweet. We even switched up the Hammer Brother in there just to change things up. So now we have our first pipe here. Let's see what happens. The perfect pipe. World 8 was next to nothing in this seed. Beautiful. And there we go. One more stage to go. Really nothing too different about Bowser's Castle. We tried to keep that fairly the same to keep things classic. So one of the reasons why I picked this recording and I didn't try to do another recording after the new patch was in was because I felt like this this particular seed and this particular way that I played just it looked nice. I really thought that this was what a successful randomizer seed would look like, even with a little bit of error. It turned out just the way I wanted it to. You can subtract maybe about a good 5-6 minutes if we took out the auto-scrollers on the airships like it can do now. And that's it. That's all she wrote. That's SMB3 Rando. A lot of fun stuff going on. Between myself and Grand Poop Hair, I think the commentary would be pretty sweet. Probably even get Mitch in on commentary. So it is 55, 57. And again, we're putting up an estimate of an hour, and that was even with all the auto-scrollers. Great run overall. Thank you so much for watching this. I do hope whoever is viewing this will consider Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer for the GDQ. I think this would be a fun time for everybody. Could make for even an interesting bonus game to be tacked on to Mario Maker during that segment if you want to make money during that time. So, just some thoughts going on there. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email should be available throughout the GDQ site, so just let me know. Thank you so much again for being here.